The third conditional describes hypothetical situations in the past. This is very important, in the past. The third conditional is the only conditional that describes situations from the past. We are imagining the result of something that did not happen. Okay, so something in the past that did not happen. And very important, we are imagining a different past. A different past. Let me give you an example. So the context for the example is: yesterday you played the lottery, but you did not win. So this is the context. And today we are thinking about the situation. So this is the context, and here is the example of the third conditional. If I had won the lottery, I would have bought a house. So this is the third conditional. Okay, so you can see the person is imagining the past. He is imagining a different past. Because in reality, I did not buy a house. And I did not buy a house because I did not win the lottery. The condition is impossible because it's in the past, and we cannot change the past. So this is the condition, and this is impossible. Today we can't win the lottery because in fact we lost the lottery. We did not win, and it is in the past, and we cannot change that. It's finished. So I use the third conditional to imagine a different past. So if I had won the lottery, I would have bought a house. But unfortunately, I did not win the lottery. The form. As always, we have two choices for the form. The first choice is we can say if, condition, and then the result. If I had seen Jane, I would have invited her to the concert. So here we have the if condition first, and then the result. And there is a comma after the condition here. So when we write it, we write a comma after the condition. And the second choice is the opposite. We can say the result and then the if condition. So with the same example, we can say, I would have invited Jane to the concert if I had seen her. And with this choice, we do not use a comma, and there is no pause when we say it. Okay? And so, for the meaning of this example, the meaning is, well, in reality, unfortunately, I did not see Jane, therefore I did not invite her to the concert. But by using the third conditional, we are imagining a different past. I am imagining what I would have done if I had seen Jane. Let's look at the verb tense of the condition. Question: what tense are the verbs in these conditions? If I had won the lottery, I would have bought a house. So I'm asking you, what is this tense? I had won. And the second example, if I had seen Jane, I would have invited her to the concert. So what is this tense? I had seen. So the answer is, the tense in both examples is the past perfect. The past perfect. I had won. I had seen. So the structure or the form of the condition in the third conditional is if, then the subject, and then the verb in the past perfect form. Okay, so that's the condition. And now let's look at the form of the result. So the structure or the form of the result is subject, then would have, then the past participle. Example: if he had studied for the exam, he would have passed. He would have passed. So he is the subject, then we have would have, and past is the past participle of the verb pass. So let's look at the full form with all subjects. I would have passed. You would have passed. He, she, or it would have passed. We would have passed. You would have passed. And they would have passed. And we can also put these in the contracted form. I'd have passed. You'd have passed. He'd, she'd, or it'd have passed. We'd have passed. You'd have passed. And they'd have passed. So we can see here we replace the word would with an apostrophe and then the letter D. And the contracted form, we use this often in spoken English and informal English. But the meaning is exactly the same. Let's compare the third conditional with the second conditional, because often students are confused with the difference. If I had won the lottery, I would have bought a boat. If I won the lottery, I would buy a boat. So the sentences look similar, and in fact they both involve the person imagining buying a boat, but there is quite a big difference between both of these sentences. So what is the difference? Well, this one is the third conditional, and I have explained this in today's lesson. So, as a reminder, here we are imagining a different past. It is a hypothetical situation in the past. Very important. Remember, I said the third conditional is the only conditional which refers to the past time. And of course, the condition is impossible because it didn't happen and it's in the past. We cannot change the past. So this is now impossible. We are saying what we would have bought if we had won the lottery. It's in the past. And here This is the second conditional. And in the second conditional, we are in fact describing an unlikely situation in the present or the future. Okay, this is very important. This is the big difference. Here we are discussing the immediate present or the future, the immediate future in fact. Okay, so don't be confused with the form. The form is the past simple, but in fact here we are discussing the present or the immediate future. And that's the big difference. It is also a hypothetical situation, but this time it is in the present or the future. And the condition is not impossible, however, it is very unlikely. Okay, so this is not impossible, but it is improbable. It is unlikely. Okay, so we used the second conditional. And I also have another video on my channel which explains the second conditional in a lot of detail. And I'll give you a link to that at the end of this video. Okay, now let's look at some modals in the third conditional. So for the result part of the sentence, we can also use certain modals. So if she had gone to university, she would have become a doctor. So would, we have already seen this in the lesson. And would is an example of a modal. So this is the usual modal that we use for the third conditional. And it means that if she had gone to university, then it is certain that she would have become a doctor. So although this is now impossible, however, if it had been true, then it is certain that she would have become a doctor. Okay? If she had gone to university, she might have become a doctor. Might. So what does this mean? Well, this means that if she had gone to university, then it is not certain that she would have become a doctor. It's not certain. Maybe. Maybe she would have become a doctor. Perhaps. But we are not certain. Okay? So the different past is not certain. Here, the different past is certain. And finally, if she had gone to university, she could have become a doctor. She could have become a doctor. So what does this mean? Well, again, if she had gone to university, she would have been able to become a doctor. She would have been able. She would have had the ability to become a doctor, or the possibility. But she did not necessarily become a doctor. It's not really certain. Okay, it depends on her. Okay, so this is describing the fact that she would have had the ability to become a doctor. Okay, so would, might, and could.